Okay, we are live and on the air. And we're going to wait for participants to attendees to trickle in here for a couple minutes here. Sharon, do you want to text Eleanor, Dennis, and or Ed and Penny? Technically, we need a quorum of the commissioners here for the public hearing.
Someone sent me a nice email, a text message. I'm texting them right now. Let's see what
You know, you also switched the, you know, you had to, the Zoom deleted your old meeting number, and I'm wondering if they're, even though you sent them out a reminder, they're trying to get in on the old number here.
So that's those two.
Nobody yet. Yes.
You can text them and say there's a new link that I just emailed them.
Is that the, okay. $7:30. No. Public hearing is at 7. And Reggie texted, you said you sent
I
it.
emailed the link to everybody. It probably gets them in as an attendee, but we can promote them.
Steve told us that we can Zoom at 7:30. I would, it is, yeah. I don't know that they understood that they needed to be at the public hearing. Janice is on her way.
That's okay. And this has happened before.
Okay.
It's not the first time in the last 10 years
Okay,
that this. I mean, the main requirement for the public hearing of the draft plan is for the commissioners to hear what any members of the public or which are
Right.
usually the residents have to say.
Mhm.
And it happens to be a requirement that you have to have at least a quorum of the
Okay.
commissioners here. You don't have to have all of them. So that's probably may not have, emphasized that. You
Yeah.
did send out a reminder, but I think maybe remembering it from year to year is not necessarily, doesn't always happen here.
Okay.
That's all right. We will figure it out.
Mhm.
I'm watching the attendees list here. I can put anything you want up on the screen too, if you'd like. I have the plan. Saw copy here.
Oh, yeah.
And you have it as well. Okay, right.
Yeah. Do a sound check. Nita, can you hear us? Can you hear us?
She's mute. Unmute, Nada.
Give me a sign. Can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
I'm sorry, yes, I can.
They're just leaving Patucci's and they'll be home in 2 minutes. Okay, and I'll let them know that Rich sent an email link.
Is this Penny and Ed?
Penny in it. All right.
Did that have funds? Is that today's meeting? Read along.
And when I was there yesterday in the community room, I didn't see the other rooms and the other spaces. They're just great. They're truly great.
That's Laurie and Jessica, people, Jessica, who's the program manager. Laurie, like that Rodman was alive.
Don't you love that?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I found out, I think, on Amazon, and building on old golf bars.
Is there a wish list? I was thinking about that.
I think there is, there were some people. But Jess will goes along, I will.
Let me know.
Okay. Okay. Hi, Eleanor.
Hello.
We, I think we probably weren't clear enough in letting everybody know that we had to have at least a quorum of the commissioners to start the public hearing.
Yeah,
when we Started, so, and of course, you fight the MBTA twice a day, every day, so, no. I had envisioned you stuck in a tunnel someplace in Roxbury or something like that.
it's been pretty, well, the last few nights have been a bit, some delays, but I guess it's been a little delayed in the morning because of the orange line stuff, but actually somehow since the pandemic, it's been more on time. Well, I shouldn't say it or it'll jinx it. But
Yeah, don't
it's
say
been
that.
more on time than we had been in the past at some point. I just wanted to say I'm actually not feeling that great this evening, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make it all the way through the meeting.
Okay. I think we, except for the annual plan, I don't think we have any, lengthy discussion item things on the agenda tonight, so hopefully you can hang in there.
Okay.
And Penny and Ed will be joining us in a minute here.
There on the wall. It says what the channel is too. It's written in pencil. Well, the password is Comron 16.
Fortunately, I didn't have to do anything for dinner tonight because I had it only an hour or two ago. Topped off by delicious ice cream.
And this is on the way. Hi, come on in. Hi. Hi, you've already started.
No, we have to wait for.
We're waiting for you guys. Now you're here. I'm kidding.
This is a two-week.
Make yourself comfortable.
Thank you for coming.
We're done here, so. Hi, good, how are you?
That's where I want to be.
So we have Penny for, Steve, we have Penny that got promoted here, so. Okay, I think we're getting there. Age of advanced hybrid video conferencing technology here.
There she is.
Hi, Penny. Can you hear us okay?
Ed's
Excellent,
turning his on now.
great. Well, I'm gonna go through the formalities of starting the meeting while Ed is joining us here. This is a monthly meeting of the Needham Housing Authority Board of Commissioners. Our regular monthly meeting. It's also our annual public hearing on the 2023 budget and plan for our state-aided public housing. So what does that really mean? It means Linden Chambers here. And we also have our group home on Great Plain Avenue here. And so I'm going to call the meeting to order and call the roll because we are virtual here. Reg Foster is here.
Eleanor Evans here.
Penny Kirk here.
And I understand that
Ed?
Ed Scheidler is on it.
Just
I hear
yelled.
Ed is
Yeah,
here. and
okay,
he's on his
I'm
way.
coming.
Ed Scheidler here.
That's all right. We're just going through the formalities. We're not going to start
Ed
anything.
Scheidler here.
Okay. And we have a quorum, and I just would like to note for the record that this meeting was duly posted with the Needham Town Clerk's office, I think last Friday, and is being held on a hybrid basis, both in person and over the internet as authorized under the emergency order from Governor Baker amending chapter 30B, allowing us to do so. All public bodies can do this through next March, and then
Are you on?
the general
Okay.
court.
I don't see you.
Once you go on
Oh,
mute
yeah.
there, many. And so, and then I think we'll have a more permanent solution from the general court. And speaking of the general court, I would like to welcome our state representative Denise Garlick over here. Denise, say something so the owl will pick you up here.
So I'm very pleased to be here tonight.
So it's wonderful you're here, and Denise Garlick was with us this afternoon and co-sponsor of a wonderful picnic we had with beautiful weather. Did you arrange that as well?
I wish.
One of your superpowers that I don't know about, and but you know, with all the kids and everything, ice cream truck and the band, you know, DJ and games and fun and burgers and hot dogs and boy, has it been a long time
And
since we've been
fire
able to
truck,
do that.
remember?
Hell, and the fire truck, yes, the best part. It's been a while, couple, 3 years since we've been able to kind of live normally like that. So it's just, well, really warmed my heart anyway to be there. So that's great. Okay, so I'm going to
Reg, I see,
Yes,
it looks like Janice is in the attendee section.
thank you.
Oh,
Yeah, we'll get her promoted. So we'll wait one more second here for Steve to do the tech support magic here. And while we're waiting, I'm just going to announce that we are now opening the public hearing. And I'm going to turn the floor over to our interim executive director, Steve Merritt, who will present the plan. Welcome, Janice.
Hi, good
Uh,
evening.
And let the minutes record that Janice Bennett is with us as well, Cheryl. That
Yes,
would be
sir.
great.
Okay.
And soon as Steve gives me the thumbs up that he's ready to start.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I think you have to share a screen here. Down at the bottom there, green button. And not, and you can authorize. No. Well, you're sharing your screen because you're, there you go. There you go. Easy peasy, right?
Ah,
Can everybody out there in the internet. Is that large enough for you to see what's on the screen there?
Pretty much.
Great, there, that's better. Okay,
Thank you. So the annual plan is about a 124-page document that talks about how the housing authority here will how we run our operation in a lot of ways, but also the main part of it is the capital improvement plan. The Needham capital improvement plan doesn't have a lot going on this year because things were already planned out. It's a 5-year plan that is put into effect. So this chart that I'm showing you will show that. So if you have the remaining plan, the middle column talks about the remaining plan for 2022. They're all zeros because we don't have anything available for this year. Going forward in FY23, which for us starts January 1st. We actually have quite a bit on the agenda there, including, as you can see, closer TV system installation, which has already been pretty much the remainder of that for 2023. We have concrete repairs scheduled for Chambers Street, exterior door replacement for Chambers Street. We have money for parking lot repaving, and we have intercom repair, which for Chambers Street, which is actually under contract now. Some of that. And, moving down to it shows $51,000 there for kitchen update, and that would be at Great Plain Avenue. That's our congregate home in Matthew's house at 1415 Great Plain Avenue. And that's out to it's under contract now as well. And all we have going forward for this next fiscal year. Then we step out to 2024. There's more parking lot money available a little bit. But what the biggest one there is walking and paveway replacement at Linden Street for the $78,000 to the bottom. So this money comes from capital funds from bond issued by the Commonwealth. It's a formula funding that is each housing authority with state-owned properties or state-aided properties gets a certain amount of money based on several different things, including the condition of the property, as the HCD has had evaluated. So we've had a pretty generous amount, but we've used a lot here. And as you can see going forward, there's a little bit less than that. We couldn't actually plan anything new this year because the money for the next 5 years is actually all in the plan, which made the job a little easier, but it doesn't fancy additions or things. But the biggest thing in here is the parking lot and the walkways here at Linden and Chambers, which I think are in pretty tough shape. The other factor here is that we are working on another track with potentially redeveloping these properties to property. No, what's PRI? Mr. Chairman?
Preservation and Redevelopment Initiative.
Thank you.
Oh, it's not working.
There we go, Ed. Good.
Okay. Is that
No, he's already in the webinar here.
okay? So we don't have a lot to change hardly anything to change tonight on the capital improvements. We work with our regional construction advisory team, which is the RCAT program out of the HPD on all these modernization efforts. We work with the Chelmsford. Help us with a lot of the
You want to do that, or I'll turn mine
I think. Why don't we
So,
just use mine?
yeah, you need, the guys need to mute there.
I just muted him.
Okay.
We actually jumped down, I missed this part of the chart. Community building renovation is planned for fiscal year 27. That's pushed out exterior road replacement at Grapeland Avenue and walkway repairs at Grapeland Avenue. So those are the capital improvement projects that we have on the plan. Step 4. We then move into our maintenance. Well, we have an narrative here, so.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Could you raise the voice a little for the room?
I will try, yes.
Thank you.
I'm sorry about that. The capital improvement narrative will tell you in number 1, it shows how we're spending more than our cap share in year 2, and that's why we're restricted as what we can do from here on out until we get that cap share back, because we've got some plan that we spend ahead of our cap share, which the department allows us to do because, as you may know, the bond money has to go out for years. Bond can't be held over. So what happens is housing authorities are guided by DHCD. Some get their projects ready to go, some don't have them ready, or they have to spread them out over 2 years. So Needham was able to take advantage of some of that money that was available early. But that puts us a little bit behind going forward. So we'll get our cap share, but we've already spent a lot of our allocation. This just talks about how we may request additional funding from projects. We have not requested any additional funding at this point. Under our PRI, we have been assisted very generously through Representative Garlick's efforts with some additional ARPA money and which is kind of like a secondary, or not a secondary, a second track, because we're looking to keep the buildings in shape, we get them in shape, but we're also looking to redevelop things. So it complicates this report, because if I ignore the PRI, that would not be very important. That would not be helpful. You can't ignore potentially life-changing project, the life of the buildings, in order to just kind of look at the straight and narrow. But there is some money that we will need to spend on immediate repairs, and that we'll be working with the RCATs on that, particularly I think the site work. I'm hoping to get that going. The goals of the Housing Authority's capital improvement plan is to improve the turnaround time on our vacant units, which I will report to you a year ago. June, we had 31 vacant apartments, and as of this week, I think we're down to 4 or 5 vacant apartments. And, so we have completely changed that through the efforts of Gary and Native, who you see on the screen, who are Gary's our maintenance director, and Native's our director, basically our operations director in that aspect. There's our occupancy, leasing and occupancy, and Gary's and his group have been turning the units over, and Native's been filling the units with new residents. So there's been a great effort there and a great result coming out of that. But we house more people now than we've been able to do for a while. As number 3 says, the restoration and replacement of walkways throughout the Linden Street buildings is also a priority to improve access to our residents. Changes from the previous capital improvement plan is to address those tripping hazards at both developments. And while we consider Linden changes 1, it really was 2 different developments. So they're different ages and of course different construction. We report capital reports quarterly. This is kind of our report card. These, the annual plan is a report card about our housing authority operation. I'm not gonna go through 124 pages here, just trying to give you a flavor of it, but it's available off our website, and also we have printed copies in the community room here at London Chambers. We're not currently pursuing any energy or water saving audits or grants, but we are actually doing assessments as part of the PRI, so that while in our annual plan, we're not showing it there, but we actually are doing it on the other side on the potential for redevelopment. So we're always aware of energy now, and certainly now with energy prices. See, our vacancy goals have been consistently in line with the UCD. This shows our 667, that is our Linden Chambers development at 5%, which is well in line. We no longer have a chapter 200 development, and we've never had a 705 in the portfolio. The maintenance plan is included in the annual plan. It talks about how we'll respond to work orders, what kind of emergency response we have. We try to respond to work orders within, we try to respond to every work order within 48 hours, emergency within 24. And we do pretty well with that. Gary keeps his staff hopping on the work orders. We don't have a backlog of work orders. You do run into some where we have to defer because things are not available to replace, parts are not available, but they're kept on a deferred maintenance list. And as things are available, those work orders are performed. Are we perfect? No. No housing authority is perfect at it. I'm sure there are some people that would tell you that, well, I didn't get my screen changed in 3 or 4 days, well, which is still within the realm of something like a screen repair, because it's not an emergency. But if the toilet is clogged or the sink is clogged, those things and things like that are taken care of within 24 hours, usually within less than 12. And that's a worst case scenario, like on a weekend where somebody has to come in. If it happens during the week, when we're here, those things are taken care of within several, 2 or 3 hours. Or immediately if there's, you got water, you get a faucet, it's burning water, we have to respond immediately. So for the age of our developments here, which, run back to the early 1960s for Linden Street and a little later 1960s for Chambers, we're in pretty good shape. But it's, as the PRI would show, there's a lot of things that are just aging out. We all need new hips and knees sometimes, and some of these buildings needs to do new parts or replacement. The maintenance report is available again on the annual plan. I'll go through them. We have a preventive maintenance program and schedule, which is going to show on the screen. Things are scheduled for when they should be done or should be tracked either annually, semi-annually, or monthly. And that's certainly available for your review. Annual plan, while it's available during August and September, rarely is always available but through our office, and will be always available on our website. It's also available on the state website with every other housing authority in the Commonwealth. There's a listing of the annual plans once they're approved. Look at it historically. I think. And welcome comments or questions.
Okay, well, I think we got the end of the presentation, and we do in fact welcome questions from anybody here in the audience and also online. So if you're online, I think we all know the drill after the last 3 years, raise your hand and we'll call on people in turn. But why don't we start off with, go ahead and for the record, just say who you are and where you live.
I'm a resident of Chambers right now. I had a question. Is this our our time to speak for the night?
Yes,
Okay,
This is for the, you want for the night or?
for the public, on the annual plan that Rick,
I was
I'm
gonna
sorry,
ask
Steve
you-
just
I was
printed
gonna ask you about jobs and give a note about the Happy New Year for good.
well, there will be another part of the agenda we'll get to on that. Yeah, we're, just to put this in context for everybody, the board and, leadership received comments on the plan tonight. Then the board approves that, Steve and Cheryl can go ahead and submit it to DHCD. We'll one and
I could just,
through.
I could just, do my part now, it's pretty short.
No, that's the next part of the agenda here. We're almost there, though. Okay. How about you, Ross? Do you have any comments?
Yeah, in fact,
Ross Donald?
yeah, thank you. Yeah, Ross Donald, resident of Chambers Street, and, yeah, looking at, there are a couple of other things I wanted to say too regarding more general things, but, regarding the annual plan, there really was nothing there about energy, really needed to do. The town has a climate change action committee, and other things. It's like, we need to get more integrated with what the town is doing, what the rest of the town wants, what the rest of the world wants, what the residents want. And we want energy issues addressed, climate change, pandemic responses that are appropriate, that'll lead to design changes, that'll respond to open space and use of the commons and so forth, those kinds of issues. Also, there's nothing about the mission statement. Now, I don't know whether that's the place for it, but the mission statement I've questioned it and asked that it be developed a little bit further. It's been an agenda item, but deferred, hasn't been talked about.
It is on the agenda for the regular meeting in
It's
in a
on the
few
agenda
minutes.
every
Yeah.
meeting and gets deferred.
Okay.
So, it would be a way to evaluate and analyze what we're doing and how we're doing it.
Mhm.
But if we don't talk about the mission, then we're never gonna do that. Let's see. We were scheduled, it used to be, this goes to perhaps why we need a stronger tenants organization. We have new people, new executive directors, new staff people. They all have their way of doing things. And one of the things that, let's see, Paul Dumichel used to do when he was assistant executive director was help distribute the information. And he would post the capital improvement plan listing what work to be done. Now, my notes, my files are a little bit disorganized. I live in my office. So I looked at what I had, which went back to 2015, 2016. And at that time, one of the plans, some of the things were done, the communication systems at Chambers Street were redone, the doors, roofs were replaced farther back. And it was interesting, when they replaced the roofs, they automatically included insulation. A lot of builders, developers, we'll leave out the insulation, we won't do that. So DHCD required that. So that was very interesting. Some of the work that was planned were windows for Chambers Street. In 2019, we're 3 years behind schedule, but I didn't see it anywhere in the plan here. So I'd like to get the windows fixed up. They're sticky, they're really hard to open, they don't tilt in. For people that have frail hands, they can't open the windows. They can't be cleaned, and yet you wash them from the outside. My windows have not been cleaned on the outside in at least 8 years. And it was done by somebody who was out working on the roof, and he said, could you wash my window down, and he did it. So that's just capital improvement plan. We're not getting the same information from you that we've been getting from the other people. So that's a problem. And maybe
Any
a
other
stronger
comments though on
would be
the
better.
plan we want to submit?
And there were work categories here. You referred to them where it goes into some detail about health and safety and so forth. And then there are tenant requests that are evaluated in terms of hazard and whether it's really needed and so forth. But then when things don't get done in 14 days or something like that, they get bumped into a deferred maintenance category. So that is not the best way, because residents' needs are not being met. And I think the solution to that, and this needs to be developed further, is something like a surety group. That would consist of names, something like the No Inc. from years back, just an entity that fills a slot that needs to be filled. And right now, if maintenance is not being done, if it's not included in the capital improvement plan, if work is being requested by tenants, or for whatever reason, there's no money, no maintenance people or whatever, a surety group would be the fallback group, would be funded however, but it would be there. The closest example would be, it's not an insurance group, but it's like a surety group and a godfather. Godparents are, in some religions, are the surety that guarantee the two-party agreement between the parents and the children. The godparents provide surety that the obligation of the parent to educate the child would be met.
Can we
So that would be
come
what a
back to
surety
any
group- yeah,
comments
yeah.
on the plan
And,
that
Can I
Steve has
say my
just
first-
presented here?
One statement on this.
No,
Anyway.
we'll come back to you, but there are
Okay.
other people who want to speak too, so,
But I
okay,
do have a section on this section.
okay, then we'll come back to you.
Okay, I have more on this, but those are the basic 3
All right.
points.
Okay.
No energy, no climate. The capital improvement plan is sort of independent of what we've heard before, and the work categories in the surety group to accomplish the tax.
Great, so the next person who has their hand up on is Rachel,
No, I had that, I actually answered the.
Hmm?
I actually answered the,
Rachel Clements.
yeah, about the,
Oh, no, she has her hand up, so she
I'm
wants to
sorry.
speak.
I'm sorry. Okay, you're right.
So would you turn her on here? I mean, that didn't come out quite right. Would you please activate her microphone?
Okay, Rachel.
Rachel, we should be able to hear you. Go ahead.
Hi, guys. There was a window asking me to unmute. So we do get that part.
Great.
Again, my name is Rachel Kremlist. I moved into Captain Cook in January. And so I'm relatively new. Steve was nice enough to answer my 3 queries regarding that I couldn't really hear what was going on. I had my volume up 100%. I tried my headphones. The headphones didn't work on this platform. I don't know why. So I really can't speak to anything that Steve talked to, because even trying to strain my ears and get as close to the laptop, it was hard to hear. And then, of course, Steve kind of trailed off a lot at the end of his sentences. So even it was harder, even more, to hear everything that was said. But he did address that in saying that he would try to speak louder.
Great.
What I did hear is the previous speaker, I think I heard his name is Ross.
That's correct.
I would just like to support his idea, his comments about climate change for sure. We need to get on the same page as the town, as the region. If we don't have a planet, then we can't do anything that we're doing right now in this meeting. So anything that we can do as a housing authority to our buildings, to the people who live here, to help us to conserve and become more earth conscious, more go back to the Wayback Machine and become more frugal in many respects. we are kind of in like a war. We have to get ourselves into that mentality, like back in World War II, not that I was alive then, but I do hear that people conserved a lot because I had to. We were all part of a team. And so, and that will help build community, which I am a big proponent of. And all of that is going to help your plan here that I really need to get a copy of so I can look at. Thank you so much for letting me comment.
Sorry about our audio technology glitches. We're, still feeling our way along here. And one thing I will also say is the plan we're going over right now is for basically covering the Linden Chambers property, and it's not the plan for the where you're living, where our federally subsidized properties here. So, but I think your point is well taken, and I can say, I think without fear of contradiction from anybody on the board or staff, that we all share yours and Ross's feelings and strong concerns about trying to be as energy efficient as we can with these ancient buildings. And I'm glad to hear Ross mention that we put in insulation when the roofs went in, and I can also add to that we also replaced the boilers with much more energy efficient boilers 3 or 4 years ago as well. So we're trying to chip away at it as best we can with our limited resources and our very old buildings that we have. We'll come back to you. You have additional comments you want to make.
Please. Again, I'm David Shugo, I live in Chambers, and I'm really happy to say I got to attend this meeting on Chambers because it's been a talk in the process. It's been a long way to come here, but for the new residency buildings that are coming in, I want to thank Ms. Garlick for their work on the school process, getting that bill passed that I'm learning more about now. But I wanted to say the birding, as far as it's as a constituent and speak to the board and to state representative, birding is more the birds can die because of dangers to their health if the windows are broken. And if broken windows theory and criminal justice in general is if something breaks, then everything can be broken down. At night, it can be sometimes not safe to like walk around the neighborhood. It doesn't feel safe sometimes. But I just wanted to say about the birds that the birding is the best thing you can do for the birds. I read in an email recently is to fix the windows, and there's a couple of neighbors and people breaking glass. So
I'm sorry to hear that.
Windows can help birds.
If you notice anything, I hope you immediately call the office and file a report.
There's safety issues, but it's a lot of inside stuff. There's if you have an inside problem with a cabinet or a door, and also that hasn't been replaced. But I hope in the future of the animal safety and welfare of the animals that live in the homeland, when the buildings get torn down, I hope I've mentioned this before in other meetings, but the safety of them to build new buildings that are helpful to the safety of the animals is important too.
Well, that's great. That's not strictly on the point of this plan.
Yeah.
But we will be forming a resident advisory committee, towards the end of the year, in the first part of next year, as we get going with, looking at how to redesign things. And I hope you will consider.
Yeah, I hope to have a residency for the Chambers area, because
That's what I'm talking about. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have, and we absolutely will need that kind of input. Not only on that topic, but there's many other topics, I can assure you, that will come up. So there'll be, as people know from the meetings I've been doing lately, I've been in recruiting mode for that tenant advisory committee, because I know how important it is for these projects. Our next person is Rick. Has his hand up, SD Design, and maybe you can put Rachel's hand down. You have to lower her hand so we can keep track of who needs spot. Rick, we should be able to hear you.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Perfect. Hi guys. So my name is Rick, and I'm here on behalf of SV Design. I was just wondering if we're going to talk
What's your last name? I'm sorry.
Lee, Li.
L.I. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, of course. So I was wondering if we were going to have any information on the redevelopment on Linden and Chambers, in terms of which architecture firms are submitting proposals.
So that's not what we're talking about right here.
Okay.
This is the annual plan, and I just, you know, there isn't, there's a portion of the agenda
Yes.
that we'll get to in about an hour, which
Oh,
will say, you know, address that maybe a half an hour, just as a status update.
Okay.
But it won't have very much news at all, other than the process has been launched. But
right, no,
you'll
that's okay.
sort of wait for that.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. Just wanted to make sure. Thank you so much.
Great. Is there anybody else who has any comments on what Steve presented for our 2023 annual plan, draft annual plan that after we close this hearing, we'll be going off to DHCD for further review? Anybody?
I have. a
Yes, go
question,
ahead. Yeah.
Information question.
Sure.
You're using.
You have to identify yourself
Oh,
for
I
the
am
record, it being a public hearing here.
Yes, I don't know. Anyway, Carol Briggs, and I'm a resident at Seabeds Way.
Okay,
And this is my first committee meeting of the commissioners that I've attended. And I'll get, you know, refer to the written material later at some time, because I'm a glutton for punishment, but,
I can't hear you, Carol.
oh, even me? Okay, wow.
You need a microphone, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Can you? No. it
The
didn't
volume
project.
is an issue and we'll address it. Yeah, but just be mindful to speak up,
Oh, okay.
project.
Gladly. It's a lot of initials and for me to absorb. So when you're saying, does anyone have a question? It's not a criticism, it's for information here. It's informative to me. I don't always get at this meeting what subject. Could you just fill in the full name or something?
full
No, you
name,
just, you know, we're doing this now and we're going on to another category. I'll put it that way.
so
And I can't
Right.
differentiate.
I can tell you that I absolutely sympathize with what you just said. That when I remember when I was beginning to be a commissioner, it was very hard to understand what everything meant, not just acronyms, but you know, how the whole system works. I'm so glad that you came to this meeting, and I hope you come to every one of our meetings, because one of the ways that you learn about it is just by hearing it, you know, again and again a few times. And we welcome questions. So even if we don't have time for questions during the meeting, although we always make time at the beginning of each meeting for resident input and questions, but we only have a certain amount of time in the evening before we all fall asleep. But I'm happy to talk with you a little bit afterwards if you'd like. And
I'll end it, but we have to address an issue that is on your agenda, I believe.
Mhm.
And it has to do, just to clear it
I
up.
don't think we've gotten there yet. Thanks to.
Go ahead. No, yeah,
It's information exchange.
we're about to have,
I'm asking for info.
absolutely. So we'll get there.
You're not here and it's to do with seabeds and the birds, so
Yep, we're almost
you're
there.
on alert.
So I'm on alert and we won't forget, but I think we're
Yeah.
at the end of the public hearing because I don't see any other input. So at whatever it is, 3 minutes of 8, I'm going to close the public hearing, and I think we have the input we need from the public. I'm now going to open it up to the commissioners to say, are there any comments? And you can undo the screen sharing there, so people can see us more clearly here. But are there any of the commissioners that have any comments they want to make after they've heard the input that we received? And I see no hands up. Oh, Sue, all right, Sue, can you turn on her, enable her? Hello, Sue, go ahead. I think we can hear you.
Hi, I guess we're at the resident community input.
Not almost, not quite.
Okay,
Hang on, don't
I will.
give me a moment. So I'm just checking to see if the commissioners have any further comments for Steve on the plan, and I see there are none. So now we've closed the public hearing. We're going to go back to the regular monthly meeting of the Needham Housing Authority. And as I'm gonna see if I have any I do not have any chairman announcements. So we're going to go right into resident input. And Sue, go ahead. We'll go with you first. So our new members here, Carol Briggs and her husband there know how to do it. So go ahead, Sue.
Oh, for me? Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm
Yes.
actually, I'm representing Cooksbridge Tenants Association. Jess could not be here tonight. Last night, with a few people that showed up, I passed out some information about the resident, the RAB boards. And that is something that the Needham Housing Authority does not have right now. I have been on one. I believe Lou Garfinkel back there has been on one. And I believe that we need to have a discussion about the article that Steve is going to be talking about, which is, you know, the bird issue, which is going to be taken up next month. But I think that is something that should go before a RAB board to just kind of look at things, and hopefully we'll get some more people involved with, you know, what is going on. So I'm hoping that it will kind of draw people into more of our resident meetings. And the only other thing I'm going to mention is that on September 22nd, I will be joining a roundtable through the Mel King Institute, public housing residents from all over the state. You know, they'll be bringing up all kinds of different subjects. And that's just all I needed to let you know about. I do thank Steve and Gary for initiating the stop sign. And I know that the sign itself is in transit. And we're certainly hoping to get the street lights back up and running properly. So thank you. And also today's barbecue was a hoot. And the pictures I got was they're just priceless. So thank you very much. And thank you, Denise, for coming. It was good to see you and Maureen. And it was very nice to meet Lori. So thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Sue. Do you want to go next with your comment?
Sure. Can you just wait a second?
Hmm?
We'll take one more minute, because I didn't wanna, as they say now, I don't wanna go totally off into the weeds. Think about it.
Well, go ahead and,
We don't cut down weeds.
yeah.
Oh, yes, we do. We can't,
Okay,
Ross, you can't-
we're keeping all, we're going on natural. Okay, I sent this message, a text to Lou Garfinkel, who is a neighbor at Seabed's Way, and a person, and there's quite a few. They just it's for the elderly, et cetera, so even driving at night, if possible, you know, if they had a vehicle to get down here is a task, trying to see, so I will just read the text because that'll keep it informal. And it refers to, which Sue just did, the tenants meeting we had last night in our community room at Seabed's Way, but everyone was invited. And that, we couldn't have a board meeting because we're reorganizing, there wasn't enough people for a quorum or anything. The only discussion of real importance regarding the bird item on the agenda, yours, was that it is necessary for, if it's necessary for a policy change, even made by the commissioners, must it be voted on by the tenants association, which I think in the end is what Sue was saying. I again don't have the, yeah, the lingo down before any real official change becomes, you know, it comes into being. The only people in attendance were Sue, Cindy, Rachel, Virgil, the secretary, and the representative from Robert Cook. And if we wanted to be here if there was discussion, because I presume from being on town meeting in Framingham, not the same, but at least a little and more, a little formal, that if we discuss it here, the next, your next meeting, you could just move the question and vote on it. I don't know how you
So,
put that.
actually, the commissioners haven't heard what the proposal is with respect
Oh,
to the
okay,
policy. And we're going to get there on the agenda. And I think maybe it would be better for us to let Steve kind of lay out the ground, but I can already say
Okay.
that we want everybody's input. But the commissioners haven't even heard about it other than read the agenda, and the packet like you just did yourself. And one of the interesting things about Massachusetts, they have what's called a public meeting law, open meeting law, which the commissioners can't discuss anything except in public. So we haven't even heard from Steve or even had any discussion ourselves about this new policy that
the commissioners themselves haven't heard the packet.
no, well, we're the law it basically says that if we're going to discuss anything, we should do it in public. We shouldn't be doing it in the back room, a small
Right.
little room kind of thing. So why don't you hold your you made your
Okay.
input.
No,
Is
you
there
read
any-
my thoughts.
Is there anything else you want to comment on?
No, that's.
Well, hang in there
you're on
and
the
we're
right
going to get there.
page and I'm jumping
Great.
the gun.
No, not jumping the gun at all. So go ahead. Yes.
Hi,
David.
Well, I'm Chambers and I'm a resident. Couple things I wanted to mention. One, there's a sweet new year for
They
the.
know we're here.
You have to speak up here, I think.
One thing I want to mention is Jewish New Year is coming up, the high holidays, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. It's an opportunity to be an usher for me at the temple.
Mhm.
It's also, you gotta be vigilant about safety and it's also for Sweet New Year. But I'm vigilant about my temple and, safety. But you gotta be vigilant. It's also a time for a Sweet New Year, apples and honey and challah and honey. And also the other thing I wanted to say was, as far as I started out, I was looking for a job opportunity. And I started out, doing, chain gang and scorekeeping. And I'm starting to build, first I did American Legion baseball, or I was doing chain gang last year, and now I'm doing soccer, and then I'm moving into like I'm trying to do a basketball game. So I'm trying to eventually hope I can get paid for that. And I might be looking for like resources or trying to see what with the NHA Athletics Association, like work on a paid job eventually.
Okay.
I don't know if I can be funded through any other opportunities around here, like the state funded program.
Well, I would suggest you contact the office and talk to them. I don't know what fun, opportunities there might be, but I certainly wish you the best of luck. And it sounds very good what you're trying to do there. Okay, great. I think that's all the resident input here. Oh, Ross, go ahead.
Thank you. Just, I mentioned this briefly before, the idea of a resident-centered approach. It has been discussed at the board, and there've been some research by Janice, Commissioner, on that, but I have to say that it's more than just what's in the lease. We've heard about rights and responsibilities of tenants before, but it's more about inclusivity in the way that Equal Justice Needham has been talking about. Diversity, inclusivity, what's the other one? Equity, I guess. And it involves things like you had a party yesterday. Nobody here was invited. I understand if you want to have your own residents association and you don't want to invite the residents here because we're in Linden Chambers and the residents at Seabeds and Captain Cook are a different neighborhood. I can understand that, but you can't talk about creating community and including residents, and especially if you have hold up the LTO as exemplary of the tenants' involvement if they aren't including all the tenants. Am I making sense here? I'm not going too fast, I hope. So it's just the idea of inclusivity. Somebody had a great quote. He said, I like any plan that includes me. You know, it's not to say that I hate every other plan, but I'm more favorable to, hearing about what's going on with the tenants association over there if I hear about the meetings. But I understand if you don't want to include everybody, but you can't complain if you don't have a quorum, if you don't include people, and if you aren't generally, welcoming. I think we've had good meetings because we had to rely on the Center at the Heights to fill in the blanks until we had a new temporary executive director and a new Springwell person. So the Center at the Heights stepped up and we had a bunch of people. It was a good time. So, but the regularity of those meetings becomes really important. It goes to trust,
Anything else?
Yeah. Let's see, 164 Linden Street. I've been here over 10 years and every person, executive director, temporary, permanent, and so forth, has had something positive to say about the former community building. That it was going to be used for residents and other purposes. I think it should be used right now as a design center to hold the information. There was a big brouhaha. Remember when Angie suggested that she should throw away all the documents that were just in boxes and so forth. And it hit the newspapers, and Denise, you were called to that meeting. It was kind of an emergency, and wisely, people said that it's probably with the state investigating the housing authority, it's probably not a good idea to dispose of any documents. And that was wise. So we have the documents, but where are they? I understand they've been moved from the Linden Chambers site, the drawings and so forth. Where are they? That's the kind of thing that I was lucky enough to work with Angie on. And I've digitized some of it as to, there are all kinds of things like plants.
Just want to let you know your 3 minutes are up. So just seeing if there's anything else there.
One thing I want to say is I was very happy and praised. I was all praises for the fact that the snow plows were removed from the front, the door to our entrance. And I got the idea that maybe somebody looked at them and said, they don't belong there. They belong some other place. Well, they were actually moved to that spot because they were in front of the old community building and people complained about them there. So they were moved from there to there. And what do I discover? They were moved back to where the original people complained. Now, I don't know whether you've seen them. Here,
First I've seen.
So they're back in front of
just
the
wanna
community building where the neighbors there complained about them, 5 and 10 years ago or whenever. So this is an example of, we have a new person here, new eyes, and I was all praises and I was serious about that. You can look at things and you've accomplished some things just by looking around and saying, all this rubble in the parking lot, what is it doing here? Let's sweep it up. So it's a good idea to have somebody with new ideas and new eyes, but in some ways we're going around in circles. That's why we need a more permanent reliable residents association here at Linden Chambers. We've had it in the past, and we weren't able to,
Well, I certainly
continue it.
agree with that. So,
Okay. And the last thing. the
one
last
more
thing
thing
is
here.
We've had a 3-year
Quickly, please.
infestation of cockroaches and other things. There was a dead rat and so forth. So it's beyond just the cockroaches. But we've had 4 visits by the exterminator, and we finally, and thanks to CAP, holding meetings for residents. The residents were getting together to talk amongst ourselves about the 2 buildings that were doing.
We got
this.
it. Okay.
So I went and did some research and found the right material to get. You don't have to. have
Okay, Ross.
professional qualifications.
We got it.
To get this, but this is a gel bait that residents can use to solve the problem.
Ross.
And dusting. So.
Oh, got it. Okay. Thank you so much. Do you have anything you want to comment on any of that?
The only one comment I do want to make is that 2 weeks ago here at Linden Chambers, about 2 weeks ago, we had a very nice cookout for all the residents of this development.
Mhm.
Bridge development, we celebrated today, the opening of the community room for that development. We are fostering community in our neighborhoods. But Cook's Bridge is approximately 3.5 or 4 miles from here.
Yeah.
It's not someplace where we can just bring everybody together. That's not how it works. We did our celebration here, which you failed to mention how great an event that was here. And today we did it at Cook's Bridge.
Well, listen,
So equity is differently looked at differently, but we are certainly working hard. Our staff is working hard. They all stayed after today to make sure this happens.
well, and I think, you know, you have so few resources to try to get so much done, but I do, Ross, I am sorry that you didn't hear. I know you heard about the Cooks Bridge celebration last month because you were at last month's board meeting
Yeah.
when we announced it. But what happened also is that we canceled it and the last minute was going to be on Tuesday. And we did a rain day today. So maybe you might not have caught up with that or vice versa. So sorry about that. Okay. All right, let's move on to the regular agenda. Our first agenda item is adoption of guidelines for public comment period and public hearings at Needham Housing Authority. So this is a carryover from last month where Steve had presented and it's in your board packet right at the very beginning, page number 6. The board's reaction to that was that, wow, this is really good. You're writing down sort of the rules of, you know, that we've been following for years here. You know, civility and making sure that individual personal information isn't referred to during the public comment period, and people don't, you know, get into personal criticisms of each other and so forth and so on. I'm not going to summarize the whole thing. So we decided last month that we'd all sort of think about it, that it seemed like just common sense stuff. Steve is, you know, it's been used at other housing authorities, and it would be just a good idea to kind of write it down, what we've been doing right along. So I'm looking at the commissioners to say it's on page 6 of your board packet. Is there any further fine tuning or tweaking of this that you think that should be done? Otherwise, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve this and recognize that this is what we've been doing right along, as you know, I mentioned. And you know, if something comes up that needs to be tweaked in the future, we can always do that as well. But you know, it's a good set of guidelines to do, let's say, to give it to a new resident that comes into one of our properties and wants to participate in helping us become better and be a better housing authority. Any comments from anybody? Eleanor? Janice?
Well, I guess my comment is that it doesn't take into account, like it talks about sign up sheets, but it doesn't take into account the remote remote participation, you know, and then attendees indicate that they want to ask a question by raising their hand.
Okay. That's
Um,
good, because it probably was written in an era where we didn't do this sort of stuff here, so. But we can easily sort of tweak that. I know Cheryl keeps notes, and I try to always make sure we identify who's making their comments, so that's becomes part of the minutes as well. And I have kept a pad list, notes, and I compare notes with, Cheryl after the meeting, make sure we got everybody identified here, but, okay, great, we can probably add a sentence or two about that, see, and any other comments? All right, hearing none, do I hear a motion from somebody to approve, these guidelines for the public comment period and public hearings at the Needham Housing Authority, amended with another sentence or two that would adapt it, this, item number 2 to our hybrid Zoom meeting, situation live, which I have a feeling will probably continue beyond next March, 2023, because it's been such a interesting additional convenience for everybody. I think we'll still have to have in-person meetings, for commissioners, but I think we'll still be doing these hybrid meetings so people can attend from their homes here. Anybody want to make a motion?
I so move.
Ed moves. Do I have a second?
Second.
I got Janice in there by whisker, so seconded by Janice Bennett. And I think as the tenant commissioner, that's probably a good idea for her to be the second of this. So any further discussion by anybody? Hearing none, I'm going to do a roll call vote as we must do in hybrid meetings. So Reg Foster votes aye.
Eleanor Evans votes aye.
Ed Scheidler votes aye.
Penny Kirk votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
And so I declare that motion passed unanimously 5-0. We are on our next agenda item here, which is review and approval of the NHA, first, the NHA bill schedule and check warranted totaling $260,612.97. And then to be followed by the High Rock Homes bill schedule and check warrant. Do we have any questions with respect to first, the NHA bill and check warrant? I hear none, so I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we approve the NHA bill schedule and check warrant totaling, that's in your board packet in great detail, totaling $267,612.97. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Penny Kirk. Any further discussion? We'll call the roll. Reg Foster votes aye, approved.
Eleanor Evans votes aye.
Ed Scheidler votes aye.
Penny Kirk votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
That is passes unanimously 5-0. Now we have before us the High Rock Homes LLC bill schedule and check warrant, $25,985.36. Does anybody have any comments or questions about that for management? Hearing none, I will make a motion to approve the High Rock Homes LLC bill schedule check warrant for $25,985.36. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Janice Bennett. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call the roll. Reg Foster votes aye.
Eleanor Evans votes aye.
Ed Scheidler votes aye.
Penny Kirk votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
And we can go on to the next agenda item, which is the board minutes of the 8/18/2022 NHA and High Rock Homes regular board meeting. Have you folks had a chance to look at the minutes, and do you see any additions or corrections or clarifications that need, or tweaks that need to be done? I see that there are none, so I will make a motion that we approve the August 18th, 2022 minutes for both the NHA regular board meeting and the High Rock Homes LLC regular board meeting. Do I hear a second?
Second,
Second from Penny Kirk. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify when I call the roll. Reg Foster, aye.
Eleanor Evans, I.
Ed Scheidler, aye.
Penny Kirk, I, and my comment is the minutes were excellent.
Oh,
As always.
thank you, Cheryl. And Janice Bennett.
I third that on the minutes.
Okay.
And Janice Bennett votes aye.
Well, we finally have a professional doing our minutes, unlike
Finally.
he struggled before. I'm also going to interrupt the agenda here and just ask. Well, say one thing to Representative Garlick and ask if you have any further comments, and just in case you might have other things you have to do this evening, I being in this meeting, I'm not, but one thing I was going to say to you is, having practiced the public meeting thing for a long time in hybrid mode for 2.5 years, very much welcome an opportunity for somebody to think through how we don't have to call the roll when we have hybrid commissioners, because it does add 10 or 15 minutes to every meeting. And at one point we weren't doing that, and then it was pointed out to me protocol wise that was the case. So we're doing it, especially with your being here. It is cumbersome, and I've noticed every board struggles with it, not just our own. So just a thought. But do you have anything you want to add at this point?
So my first comment is, there's nothing more important for me to be doing tonight than to be here
Great.
for this meeting. The second is that it might be cumbersome to hear the commissioners each state their name and their vote, but I actually thought it was kind of wonderful.
Mhm.
And to see the unity and the cohesion of the board. I thought that was great. And the third thing is, just as a comment, it takes a team for the work that we're doing and the lives that the residents want to live and need and deserve to live. So I thank our executive director and the assistant executive director, the commissioners, the residents, most importantly, who are weighing in. And I'm glad to be part of this team.
Well, and we are glad that you are as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Means a lot. And I'm just going to say that Representative Garlick has been an extraordinarily strong supporter of public housing in Needham way before I showed up in 2008. And because of that support, we are finally in the position of trying to see if we can update and renovate our geriatric buildings and make this a better place for everybody to live. So thank you very much for your support.
You were kind to say that what I have been a steadfast supporter of is the residents in public housing in need.
And by definition, that means we need to see if we can improve things. The physical infrastructure is not quite as old as me, but it's got aches and pains. All right, we are now at the executive director's report. I believe, yes, we are. Item D on our agenda. Steve, you have the floor.
Thank you. Before I start into it, I just want to again thank Representative Garlick for her participation in today's event at the Cooks Bridge after school program and her supply of ice cream. Appreciated by all the kids. It's a very active bunch down there. They really had a lot of fun, and everybody was well behaved. It's funny that the police department was involved and brought the food and did the cooking. And when we said that we were going to include our seniors from Seabed's way down on the invitation, they go, oh, they might not want to. The kids are kind of wild in it. The kids were wonderful. I thought they really brought a great spirit and it was just a great day for the families of Cooks Bridge. And thank the police department, the fire department, for bringing the fire truck down, Representative Garlick and her efforts. My staff did a great job organizing it. maintenance staff did a great job setting it up. It was just a really tremendous day. We had a great DJ and we had Rocket, the police department brought their dog down. And so it was really just a fun afternoon. And appropriately, we're going to open the after-school program next week for the Cooks Bridge students who are in fifth grade or below at this point. And that's not through any small effort from several, particularly of our commissioners, Penny and Janice and Ed. Penny brought it along a few weeks ago to put tennis balls on the chairs in the room, which is very much appreciated. But also just the overall support. We have a very capable manager who's a resident of Cooks Bridge and Reese, and it's just, I'm looking forward to a very successful program there. Just a wonderful to see the community come out. And I know we're also working, I'm sorry, if you mentioned the library came down with representation too, and issued library cards. For anyone who needed to update. Almost old timers needed to update our library card. So it was a very good, very nice day, very nice day. The school department, Denise is working with us as well. They weren't there today, but we are working closely with the LA school as well. So I look forward to helping our kids and helping improve their schoolwork and also just the overall neighborhood effect of a group of young people. It's having grown up in Needham, I know it's a wonderful community, but it's just nice to see it all coming together. On my report, every month we have the monthly financial report there. We have 7 months to the end of July. Housing Authority is in very good operating shape. I don't know if there are any questions from the board on anything listed there. Certainly you're welcome.
I don't see any questions, so I think keep on trucking that.
Next up would be the state annual plan consideration. Given that we have some comments to report and enter into the plan, I would propose that we go back and capture those comments and bring it to the October meeting for final approval.
Sounds good.
Just so in time. The Linden Chambers camera issues update. We're still working on improving the system here. We're still waiting for, I believe Gary, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're still waiting for the antennas to show up. Additional Wi-Fi antennas, is that correct?
Actually, I had a meeting with them today. They're gonna come out and show us their new plan. We're probably gonna try to have to get broadband to a couple other locations over on Linden Street and install it like in one of our boiler rooms so they can have a small substation panel to get the power, to get the signal back to the community room. The equipment they're saying is no extra charge. The company's gonna swap out what they brought in for us with the new updated high power stuff at no cost. So we're gonna do a walkthrough next Thursday and see what sites would be the best for them to put power extenders on. Everything is operating and we can see it if they go into the DVR system. We just can't see it remotely at this time. Unless we go right to the base of where the DVR is set up at the community hall where you're at.
Thank you. So that's the update there. Number 5, request for proposals for fee accounting. We're in preparation of that. I was able to just this week receive 3 samples from our auditor on what our request for proposals should look like. So we'll tweak that in the next couple of weeks and be ready to look to issue that in October. As you know, our fiscal year runs till December 31st. So that will be, we should be well in hand by then with an accounting contract, whether it be our current accountant or someone else. The bank issues, we did not have the ability to get the policy to you today about check signing, but we are working on the issues that we spoke about last meeting and keep it on the agenda so we don't lose track of it, but that will be coming along. The NHA audit update, I think last month I reported that we got a letter from HUD commenting on our audit. Well, it turns out HUD was commenting on our High Rock Homes audit. So we don't have a comment yet on our full 5-year, full annual audit from HUD. That was just actually filed in the last couple of weeks by our auditors. So just to, it looked like we were doing great. I thought it was a little unusual that HUD would make that comment ahead of time. And it turns out it was unusual because it wasn't for that proper audit. They didn't mark it that way, you know. So.
I do have one question there, which is, have you heard anything from our auditors about when they're going to be releasing the 2021 audits for our properties?
That's what
they're still working, still, yeah. So they're, you know, they're a little later than usual, but everything got backed up because of COVID here. Okay, great. So maybe just looking ahead where, you know, that might be available for review by the board in the October meeting, you think, or?
I hope so. I
Yeah.
haven't seen it myself.
All right. Well, it'd be great to maybe get an ETA for planning purposes, because we're gonna have a lot of other PRI related stuff to do in the next month or two. And we're trying to get that into the master calendar here so we don't overload the board.
Sure.
And that's yeah, I'm not, hopefully it'll be nice, clean audits that no problems, nothing else like that, but I just want to make sure that we, you know, it doesn't get overrun by the other things we have to consider this fall.
You know, I skipped right over number 2, which is monthly management report. If you have showing our vacant units at the end of August, a total of 7 system-wide. If you look back at August 21, it was 31. So again, that's a tribute, as I mentioned earlier, to our staff, particularly Nada and Gary and their crew. They've worked hard over the last year to reduce those numbers, and it shows, just shows, and I appreciate that.
May I interrupt you and just say to the board, does anybody have any questions for Steve or Cheryl with respect to our standard monthly reports on accounts receivable, on work orders, and on vacancies? Any comments or questions from anybody? Again, no news is good news, I think, Steve. You know, I think we've got everything kind of rattled to the ground, although
I think there's some pretty impressive reports there, Reg.
yeah, great. I do want to ask you, you have a write-off in there. You have some,
At the end of the
is that in section G? Where is that?
end of the agenda.
At the end of the agenda. Oh, you put it in new business. Okay, got it. All right. So we'll be coming back to those bad account write-offs here. So, okay. We are now at the bird feeder policy draft for consideration at next board meeting, the agenda item that had the bird feeder policy. We're at that agenda item now.
I didn't hear the last part of what you said.
And Steve is going to present the reasons for why this is on our agenda for the board to hear, but we're not going to take any action today.
Just appreciate it if you could just speak up.
Of course, we'll do our best.
Thank you. With the owl, I'm trying to, I the microphone all apart. But so there's a proposal for a bird feeder policy. And that is something that what I found in our records was first written in I think it was December of 2010. This is a policy, this is not a new policy.
So this is an existing policy.
Well, to my, I cannot find where it was ever voted on.
Ah,
So, but it was a proposed policy in the system, which, you know, it includes some information from the local animal control, I think, and the second page of what I gave you is was the original written policy, you're writing up it, so I just try to clean up the one page. And it comes out of some issues we're having. a couple of places on bird feeder. Bird feeder is close to the building and causing the attracting other unwanted birds and unwanted visitors to the food. Bird feeders, tend to fall, the bird seed falls to the ground, and that attracts other birds that are ground eaters. And it can be a turkey, it can be other things as well, pigeons. We've had a number of other types of birds that are being fed by the fall of the seed, scavengers, if you will. And the recommendation by the I think it was the Audubon Society. First of all, they recommend that birds not be fed between May and November, I think it was, or April and November, that they don't need to be.
Can I
And
interrupt or is that?
No, but you,
I have a number of complaints about bird activity in our development. And it's not only one development. We've had complaints at both ends of town. So that's why, looking back, I found this policy. I thought we should look at it and potentially act on it. The board should adopt a policy of some type so that our office has a guideline on how to move forward.
great. Hang on. Do any of the commissioners have any comments or thoughts on this, what Steve has presented here?
I can comment.
Go ahead, Janice.
Well, I do know years ago, there was an issue with bird bats. And I want to say this goes back to the early 2000s, where they did make a ban on the bird bats. So I can't find a reason or rhyme or reason why bird feeders would not be involved in that policy. They kind of go hand in hand, bird feeder, bird bath. And Steve is right, it does bring an awful lot of unwanted prey. I can tell you, I live next door to the woods, and believe me, I enjoy looking out and seeing the birds, but I don't, I would think that that policy would hold if there was, I mean, you may have to look it up. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure there was a policy that said no bird feeders or bird baths. Because I can remember somebody across the way that had a bird bath, and she was so PO'd, she just tipped it over in her yard and left it there. So.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from other commissioners? Any, Ed?
1/8.
Eleanor?
There are 2 drafts.
Oh. What did I screw up?
It's in the board packet on page 118, yes. But if you haven't had a chance to read through it, maybe again, we're not taking any action tonight. Steve is just raising this as a problem with, which management has received complaints about. Some research, as I understand it, and discovered we have a policy from 2010 that nobody remembered that we had. But it was in the policies book, but there was no evidence that the board had ever reviewed it as a policy or approved it as a policy. The reason that's important is that's one of the things that boards do, is that they are the ones that approve policies here. I can say, just for improving our policies in general is one of my things, my pet peeves from ever since I showed up. And we did have a lot of outdated policies when I joined the board, and we have been steadily going through them and updating them. And here's one that I didn't know we had that we hadn't still gotten to. So I think it's enough to sort of raise that this is going on. We've had tenant resident input already tonight, twice over, I think, that suggests that it would be a good idea to have a meeting with the residents, concerned residents in between and the tenants associations in those areas that we have tenants associations and get, input that way and then see if there's, see where we're at our next board meeting as you're recommending. Does that make sense to you, Steve?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
makes sense,
Yeah.
That's really where we are.
And I will just throw my 2 cents in. I'm one of those bird feeder friendly people, or let me say my wife is and my family all love it. And I'm aware of the Audubon recommendations. And I can say in the foster family at our home, we don't necessarily follow them quite as well as we should be doing for the, so, I certainly understand the passion part of this here. But I also know we use the black sunflower seeds and they are absolutely the best seed for birds. There's no question about that. But they make a humongous mess. The sunflower seeds do, and black oil sunflower seeds and whole seeds do drop down just in the nature of it. And it's not just wild turkeys, but there are rodents that are highly attracted to this sort of stuff. Squirrels, chipmunks, mice, and just something to be considered, when we're, that is something that's, not necessarily what we want to necessarily be attracting to our buildings here. So I think that, there's a probably a good policy out there to be written up. I'm not sure 100% of everybody's going to agree with every word. But I think the right action for tonight is just to go forward and see if we can have maybe a meeting around here and a meeting around the seabeds and Cook and see if we can hash out what the right approach is here. So.
I know you put Carol Briggs, Seabed's Way. Resident, you're done with this, but the famous, but the information from like the Audubon Society and so forth, and you just came to one of them off the top of my mind. Or with like the Tenants Association gathering info. The interim between this meeting and the next one. Are we gonna have some for? Or
My recommendation and Steve's recommendation is there will be a meeting in the tenants associations in between now and our next board meeting. It's not just gathering of information.
Okay, well, I just wanted to make sure that some sort of professional bird info was considered.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
telling, you know what I mean?
We have heard you, yes.
Okay,
Okay,
yep,
great.
I'm done.
All right, so we will move on to the rest of your report.
You didn't give me a chance to speak.
Beg your pardon?
You didn't give me a chance to speak, and this is all about me. Well, it's fine.
You did have a chance to speak, but
No,
go
I
ahead.
was waiting. You told me later.
Okay, go ahead.
My name's Lou Garfinkel. I'm at 46 Seabeds Way. Just a little background on myself, okay? I've been at Seabeds Way since January 1st of 2000. That's 22 years. I'm 81 years old. I'm not in good health. I don't know how much longer I have, actually. I haven't let that out to the public, but that's the case.
You just
Okay,
did, so don't
I've had-
say anything you don't want to
We've
say.
had bird feeders on Seabeds Way ever since I moved in. We've never had any issues. I started in 2005 because originally I was upstairs. Now I can't do stairs anymore. So now I'm in the handicap access apartment. And that bird feeder, I spend a lot of money on bird feeders. The bromate feeders are probably the best that you can buy. $120, $130 for it. I'm very diligent on making sure that everything is kept clean. I've always done that on a regular basis. I suffer from anxiety. Right now I'm shaking because I haven't been able to, I'm not good at speaking in public, and my friend Carol was going to speak for me. That's why she came. But all I have in my life right now is my birds and my cat. I don't have any family around. I haven't seen my brother in over 2.5 years because of COVID, and then now there's other complications. Where I have that bird feeder on, it's on a crabapple tree, which that is what attracts most of the turkeys, and has for years and years, because I've raked them up and dumped them as much as I could, as quickly as I could. But a lot of the points that you made up, I'm not going to remember, but that's why I wanted to interject. I understand that's not the policy of the board to do it that way, but I have memory issues, so my sentences are going to be broken. That's why I asked Carol to speak for me, but none of this was addressed. Again, I sit in my recliner and I'm able to look out perfectly and see that bird feeder where it's mounted on the tree. Okay, it's 19 feet away from the building. I don't know why that would even have any bearing, which has never been an issue. If I lay on my couch, I can watch the bird feeder perfectly. It relieves my anxiety. It's something that I really need to have. I mean, you go to a lot of rest homes and so forth, they have bird feeders around, just for the elderly to be able to deal with life in general. You know, I love my cat dearly, but I can't play with him all the time. At my age, he enjoys seeing the birds. He runs from window to window and it keeps him occupied. If you don't have that, the cat has nowhere to, nothing to do. They get depressed and eventually they die. I've had cats for a long time. I'm just pleading with everybody that a lot of this that you're saying, the black oil, I spent a lot of money on black oil sunflower seeds. As you know, they're expensive.
They are.
Yeah, I mean, 40, 50 pound bags.
And those bags are too heavy for me to pick up.
I have to have somebody do it for me. I can't do
I
that either.
know.
But the bird feeder in all the years that I've had it, it's never ever fallen off of the tree the way I have it mounted. I've never had an issue with that. There's never been any residue left over. Yes, the hulls, the seed residue do make a mess, but when you clean it up regularly, it's not an
Exactly.
issue.
Yeah.
There is no food left over because the ground feeding birds will eat all of that. At the end of the day, there's nothing there.
Right.
You know, I fill it up probably almost every day. That's, you know, the turkeys have been around because people are feeding them. People are
Right.
feeding them. You even had a person that works for the housing authority, won't mention the name, but dumped a whole dish of Pyrex dish full of lasagna right at the base because he wanted to feed the turkeys.
Probably not healthy for the turkey.
Now, it's also not healthy for them either.
Right.
I mean, I don't like the turkeys around either, but you know, lately there's been one and maybe another couple occasionally. They all come around when the crab apples start to fall. Then we've had as many as 20, 30. I don't have the only crabapple tree. There's 2 or 3 of them in the development. I know I'm rambling on, but I've always been good at trying to keep everything clean and neat. I do a lot of work around for years. I do a lot of work to help the maintenance crews. I do all the trimming of all the bushes all around, all the way down the hill. I weed whacker. I'll even, you know, mow the lawn. You know, I've got all those tools to do it. Hedge trimmers. So I've done an awful lot of work for everybody. I keep to myself. I don't make, you know, an issue of it. All of a sudden, this became an issue. As far as anybody saying that they slip on turkey poop, that can't be true because turkey poop turns to powder when you step on it.
Can I say what my ears hear you saying? Can I repeat back what I just think I heard from you?
I can't quite hear you. I'm
Can
sorry.
I repeat back to you what my ears have heard you say?
Okay.
What I have heard is that you have a tremendous amount of experience and advice and wisdom that you could help us with. And this is really important to you. Very, very important to you. And that I think you have spoken extremely well. We have a very excellent person taking minutes. We're actually recording this meeting as well.
I understand.
So all of your input is not going to be lost. And I'm glad you spoke for yourself and you just, and didn't just, rely on
Probably
Carol.
adds a what, because I can't think of it all at the same.
No,
time.
no, you've done terrific. You've
Uh,
done wonderfully.
But there's other points.
But-
A lot
but-
of, there are no
I'm not
roads
quite-
at the
I'm not
front of the
quite-
building.
Not
I'm
quite,
sorry.
not quite finished.
Okay,
It said, we don't have this discussion on the agenda tonight. But we're not gonna make any decision,
I
and
knew
we
that.
want your input at the resident meeting that's gonna be scheduled in a week or two. And in case you don't remember anything, we'll have notes from tonight's meeting, and Carol can also help you speak for yourself. So, I would really invite you to, to save the rest of your comments if you have, but and put them into the residents meeting and then bring it back here next meeting.
please, Mr. Foster. I'm begging you. I wanted to try to settle this. I haven't slept for days
No.
because this is really on my mind. And I was hoping that we would come to some resolution tonight to maybe not go through with limiting this. If I don't have that, what I told you, if I don't have the access to be able to have that bird feeder up there, I don't have anything else. I have no reason to live. And that's really what it's coming down to. I've lost everything, I'll have to, give up my cat, which I don't want to do. I need him.
Yeah. Nothing.
It's
Nothing.
that bad. I wanted to say that we don't have any rodents in the front of the building. Where they are in the back of the building near the dumpster, because people keep putting raw garbage in there without putting them in bags. We had a policy, and it's still in existence, that all food stuff should be put in plastic bags and sealed before putting in the dumpster.
May I ask?
The back door to our building is constantly left open. I have pictures which I can show you right now.
So may I ask you, what would you like to have happen tonight?
What I would like to have happen is have peace of mind that I don't have to take down my bird feeder, because I'm not responsible I hate when people are throwing food off their porches, and it happens in every building. That they've been told over and over, a lot of them, some of them don't speak English, or they don't know, they think that, oh, okay, I'll just throw out some bread and this and that.
Yeah.
That's what brings animals around. But most of the problem with the rodents that get in the building are coming in from the back door of building 46. And I can show you pictures where the doors have been wedged open in the afternoons, and they've been open for
Okay.
hours.
So let me interrupt you again, because the hour is getting late.
I'm sorry,
I hear you.
I appreciate you listening.
We
I really
hear
do.
you. I don't know if Steve, you want
But I
to
just-
comment on that, or I can continue.
I just like to have a little peace of mind so I can get a good night's sleep or get this off my head. Okay, so.
The bird feeder's going nowhere for a month.
Right, but it's still gonna be on my mind, and
I know,
I just
So I've
can't deal with it anymore.
I have had this discussion with you before, and I also have had many phone calls about, particularly if we want to talk, we have a bird problem at 2 developments, not just yours.
Okay,
Okay, so first of all, you need to understand that. I have received a number of calls, a good number of calls about the birds around your bird feeder. I have witnessed a couple of dozen pigeons out there. I have witnessed the turkeys. I have pictures of that too. I've tried to go up
pigeons
there
are
and.
birds. I don't, not that I.
The
invite
birds
them
that
in.
belong, no,
Yeah.
pigeons are not just birds, okay?
I know birds, that's my hobby.
Yeah, and no one's saying here you're not gonna be able to have a bird feeder. We just need to get it away from the building.
It's
further.
not near the building.
So other residents have the right to their enjoyment of the building and the entrance.
They do,
to
there's nobody in my
I'm
building
just
that
gonna tell you,
objects
this is
to it.
what I'm hearing. They walk in and they walk out and the birds bother them, the birds flock at it, when they walk by. I have had a number of complaints about them.
I would like
Nobody
to know
doesn't
who
like
these
you.
people
This
were.
is not about you.
I would like to be able to, talk to you,
All right.
and if you let me know who they are,
We'll have
so
a
we can
meeting.
deal with that.
No, we're not
But
gonna get
I
into
know
those.
that's not true.
So Lou, I'm gonna add a different type of comment here. which is, again, they're
But
very.
I might not be around in a year,
I
okay?
know, but
I don't
hopefully
know
you'll
if
be-
I have 6 months or I
Oh,
got 2
hopefully
years.
you'll be
I would
around.
like to be able to enjoy my
Can you
life.
not interrupt me, please, sir?
I'm sorry.
Okay, I understand you're upset. And I've given you a lot of extra time.
I
And,
appreciate it.
and, hopefully you will be here a year from now and 5 years from now and 1 month from now, but right now, unfortunately, we have to follow state law and regulation. And we can't have a discussion of the issue tonight. And I'm very sorry about the anxiety, but there's only really one way we are allowed to go as a public body. And that is, you've had expressed how strongly you feel about it tonight. But there are other residents who are not here tonight. You know why they're not here tonight? They didn't know this was going to be on the agenda tonight. And everybody gets to have their say.
It's on the agenda.
And it's not for discussion. Next month, it'll be on the agenda for discussion, okay? Sir,
Yes, I'm listening.
pay attention to me,
I am.
please.
I'm listening.
I assure you, it's not on the agenda for discussion tonight. And I'm really, all my family are animal lovers. Just as strongly as yours are, you feel. And I understand what you're saying. I hear you. But we can't discuss it tonight. We have to have a resident meeting, let everybody have their say. And ask our management to take it all together, and recognizing that the situation around here is completely different than in seabeds. There's no wonderful woods and everything like that. And come back to the board in a public meeting and say, here's what we've heard from all the residents, not just you who are here tonight. And here's what we recommend that you do about it. But I will tell you, tonight, we can't discuss it any further tonight.
Okay.
I'm sorry, and I know that means another month of concern on your part. I'm very
I don't know if I'll
sorry
make
about that.
I don't think I'll make it. I may not even make it through the weekend. Steve, is there any way that you could?
Excuse me, sir.
I'm sorry. Okay.
You're now out of order. Please sit down.
I don't know how it works. so-
Please sit down. And we will come back to this. And we can't discuss it tonight. That is what I am ruling. Because we can't have an agenda item for discussion unless it's been posted on the agenda for discussion.
It was supposed to-
No, it's not there for a discussion, as I've told you. It's there to notify the board that we have to consider a policy in this area in the expertise and the recommendation of our management here. And you will have every opportunity to be part of that discussion. And you've had an ample opportunity tonight, so could you please accept that for tonight? And again, accept my sympathies from a family of animal lovers that I understand absolutely how strongly you feel about it. You know, the same thing, if my wife and kids were here, they would say exactly the same thing that you, has nothing to do with being 81 years old. It has everything to do with just loving the peace and tranquility that animals bring into our lives. That's what I hear you saying. Am I hearing you correctly?
The birds and the.
And your cat.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
No, you're
And in
right.
my case, my family, our dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So could you please join us for the rest of the meeting, and please rest assured we have heard you,
Thank you
okay?
very much for the time. I'm sorry.
Okay. It's
Got out of the way.
okay.
I don't know how the system
It-
works. so-
I get it. I understand.
Thank
So
you very
we're gonna move on. Are we done with your executive director's report?
Yes.
All right. All right, good. So we're gonna go on to the next agenda item here. Search committee update. We have Janice as head of our search committee and Steve as our executive director. Who wants to go first here? Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. Oh, that's great, but we can't hear, people can't hear if you're talking to each other. Thank you. And thank you for coming tonight.
So I would just report at this point, we are now, the advertisement is online at our National Association of Housing and Development Officials site. And under their classified ad section, which addresses, which goes to every housing professional basically in the country. So I will be attending the national conference next week. We'll be bringing copies of the ad with me and handing them out as I can. And we will see what we get. We're also looking at, I spoke with Rick this morning at a November conference, statewide conference is in November, and there'll be a push there. So when we get people together, and see if we can get some responses back. So we'll meet the needs of the housing.
Okay, I'm worried, that, we're having a hard time finding, not that you aren't a wonderful interim executive director, but I'm worried that, it's tough to find people in this job climate that we're in. It's not just our area of human endeavor, but every area here, so I'm worried about that. Janice, do you want to add anything? Or Ed or anybody else who's part of the search committee?
I have something to add. But I don't want to add it here. I think there has to be a meeting between me, you, and Steve Ridge.
Okay. Ed, do you have anything to add? Ed, do you hear me okay? Do you have anything you want to add about the search committee? The search, I guess. You're on mute, yes. No, you're still on mute there, I'm afraid to say.
Humble apology. The working group is making progress and moving forward. And there was at the last meeting, there was a discussion of the MBTA communities guidelines, which are those communities that have MBTA service, and their guideline now is finalized that they're looking for X number of units to be within a half a mile of each public transportation station. And we benefited because the number of units that we have to provide for was reduced dramatically because we were changed from a bus town to a train town. And then Oscar Mertz, who is a member of the board, presented an
Isn't he speaking on the wrong topic?
Yeah, Ed moved on to the housing plan working group report here. And while you were trying to get unmuted, I was saying, is there anything further you want to say about the search process or search effort for a new executive director? If not, keep on going on the housing plan working group report.
Okay. All right. So an implementation plan has been presented, and this is very lengthy and complicated. If anybody is interested, just let me know. I'll be more than happy to send a copy to you. Then next steps were determined for the next meeting, which I will not be able to make. And Reg has requested permission to have somebody else sit in that meeting in my place. So I think, Reg, is this an appropriate time to ask for volunteers?
I think that is true. I think it would be an alternate because Ed, you intend to continue to be our representative, right?
Correct.
So it's just an alternate because you can't be there because you're gonna be out of the country. And next meeting, which is what, the 29th? Something like that.
That's right.
Somewhere in there, is where the actual first draft of the report is going to be presented and discussed. So this is a biggie. Ed and I kind of emailed back and forth as to whether that, it would be a good idea for us to approve an alternate for, since Ed has his out of the country trip and obviously can't even attend by Zoom because of the, it's going to be in Europe, so the time doesn't work here. I was going to suggest, rather than looking for volunteers, Ed, that, unless you've been sort of tracking what the working group has been doing over the months, that it's not going to be useful to have an alternate there. And I'm probably the only person who's been tracking it as closely as you have been. So I'm going to suggest that I be the alternate for that meeting, that Ed can't attend.
I was only hoping you would volunteer.
Yeah, so, unless there's any objection on the board, I actually I don't know exactly what the procedure for this is on their end. So I'm gonna ask for, Ed, you to make a motion to, nominate me as an alternate when you are unable to attend. And then we'll have that as the sense of the board that we bring to the Housing Plan Working Group. If you want to go ahead and do that.
Okay, I would like to move to nominate Reg to be an alternate to sit in on that meeting that I will not be able to attend.
I second.
Thank you.
Okay, seconded by Janice. If there's no further discussion, let's proceed to the vote. Ed, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Eleanor,
Votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Eleanor Evans votes aye.
and Reg votes aye. Okay, we'll follow up on that. Okay, the next item here is just a general preservation and redevelopment initiative report. You all have your detailed monthly report from Cambridge Housing Authority in the board packet. The only thing that's not in that report, I just wanted to note that we had a very productive meeting, in my opinion, with Representative Garlick and also her staff. She had 3 or 4 of her staff members there, with Cambridge Housing Authority, Margaret Moran, and just to sort of get all synced up on what's going on this fall and what the plans for the next year look like. I think everybody found that very helpful. I'll just note for the meeting here that we did get the Linden Chambers architect and engineer designer RFS out, request for services out, last month, and we were delighted to receive 6 good proposals. So that gives us a lot of choice. We're now going, just remind everybody, we're going through the process, which is on the 24th, the state DHCD Designer Selection Committee meets. All the reference checking has been done with the 6 candidates. They will pick anywhere from 3 to 5 candidates that they think are top and suitable for us, but not rank them. We've formed our local selection committee that includes a tenant, a leading Needham resident, a leading Needham resident who happens to be an architect, our member of the Cambridge Housing Authority, and our executive director. And they will actually interview the 3 to 5 firms that we get from the state committee. All those meetings have been scheduled, which is probably the hardest thing we've had to do in the last month, is to try to get everybody to schedule 5 meetings to be able to get through all these things. And we're still on track for our local selection committee to present a report to us at our next board meeting, where it's up to our board, this board, to make the final decision as to who to award the A&E Designer Services contract to. And again, just to remind everybody, this is the firm that over the next 15 months is going to be creating what I'll loosely call a shovel-ready plan and design for actually going about redeveloping Linden Chambers and address all the biggie issues that haven't really been addressed whatsoever, like zoning and permitting and temporary tenant relocation, and how, in particular, how to phase this project so that maybe we can have a phase one that is within reach of our possibility of funding the capital construction costs. So after a very long time that goes back before my time, we're actually beginning to be able to move forward and trying to figure out how to address the Linden Chambers development here. So very exciting from my point of view. Also, we put out a legal services RFS. It did go out, I think it, or it's almost gone. It did go out. So you're aware of that from last month, but we haven't got proposals back on that. So those are additional items on top of the Cambridge Housing Authority monthly report. Does any of the board members have any questions or comments?
So you said the legal service one is out, or?
It is, I believe, out, yes.
And I think it said it's due the 20th, is that right? Or no?
Still the same date, I believe. And part of, we also ran it by Eleanor, who is not only a commissioner, but also in her day job is actually to be a very high powered, top attorney at a, wonderful law firm here. So she contributed her 2 cents in taking a look at that RFS. Great. So any other questions or comments from anybody? Let's go on. The CIP update, do we need to cover that?
No,
Was you put that in there, I think. The second to last bullet under F.
no, we don't.
Okay. That's crept in from nowhere. Okay, we're on G, status update. The after school steering committee, we have minutes in our board packet. And I very much appreciate the minutes. I think those are very helpful. Whoever's taking the lead in doing that. Is there any additional update that we need to go over tonight? I think the main headline is next Monday, after 2 years of extremely hard work on all of our parts, we're able to relaunch the program here with a wonderful new facility, much better than what we had before. But is there anything else to add on that, Janice or Penny, who's been leading this effort?
I just want to say I'm so thrilled to have it back. The kids are so excited. They loved today. It was a wonderful time, better than any other. So we're back bigger and better than ever. Let's go, Needham.
All right. Well, I hope whoever is there sends out an email, just a status update on how the first day went. That would be great.
I'll be there.
All right. After school program, plan to return unit number 42 to service, our 4-bedroom unit that was formerly the after school program and now can go back as a 4-bedroom deeply affordable housing unit.
It's Gary has done an evaluation of it. We're not clear of everything that was in there at this point, I don't believe. But basically whatever is left will be being disposed of, and that's when the work will start.
Okay. All right. Gary, any update on that yourself? Since you're here with us?
Now, just like Steve said, we're just gonna get the rest of the items that belong to the after-school program, what they want, what they don't want. And then we can go forward on making our renovations and putting it back to a 4-bedroom.
That's great. And I'll just say what I said last month and in previous months. I'm delighted because there's a scarcity of deeply affordable housing of every kind in Needham and elsewhere, but 4-bedroom units are especially scarce. So this is a great thing that we're doing here to get that done here, in my humble opinion. Paving project, any update there?
I know updates reported.
Okay, Seabeds Way, CCTV, any update there? And the Cook, I guess, both.
We don't have an update there, same as last meeting.
Same
We're waiting for the
Design,
design.
okay. And resident survey final comments. So last month, we distributed last year's 2021 and resident survey. And it was the first time Angie Medeiros had pioneered that. And we got some really good input back on that resident survey. And last month, we distributed the resident survey to everybody, the commissioners, and asked if there were any improvements that needed to be made to that survey document. Recognizing that we don't want to alter it drastically because we want to be able to have year-over-year comparisons. So we asked all the commissioners to get any input back to Steve and Cheryl so that it could be issued in, a few weeks here, next month. Did you get it?
I haven't had any additional comments.
Okay, well, I sent in some comments.
Yes.
Yeah.
Other than yours.
Doesn't, I speak out for now or forever hold your peace to the other commissioners. Any other further comments or you're happy with it going out pretty much as is here? And I think there's no reason to improve it at all, but it's just want to make sure we got a chance to do that. Okay, so we're done on that. We can get that out. And we're done with agenda item G. We're now at new business. H. Well. We have 3 more housing choice vouchers. How did this miracle happen?
Well, it happened through congressional act, and it's a formula that's available throughout the country. My understanding is that housing authorities were limited to 4 additional vouchers, and we got 3, so we don't have a huge program yet.
Mhm.
But I just heard that today. I didn't confirm that, but so we did very well.
So officially now we have 123 as opposed to 120. Is that right? Forever.
Yeah, these are.
So that's 3 more families that can get deeply affordable housing services.
NHA already has families coming in, I believe, to pick up vouchers. These are ready to go. They were, it's a strange notice from HUD, whereas if you don't want it, you had to notify them by September 2nd. It's like, I don't know if you have a housing choice voucher program, why you wouldn't want 3 additional. We could take 300 additional right now and probably have the families to use them, but we'll take the 3 and
Well, that's great
help
news.
some more people.
All right, our next item is NHA adoption of the fiscal year 2023 HUD or federal fair market rents. Those rents are in your packet on page 129. And just as a formality, the board has to adopt those, but they will provide us a lot more money, which is a great thing, especially it will really, the new rents are 8% higher than they were last year, 8 to 9%. So that's going to really benefit our repositioning strategy analysis and bring in a lot more money just from that topic that we're going to be considering in a couple of weeks on October 3rd. I think this is sort of a formality, so I will go ahead and make a motion that we adopt those fiscal year 2023 fair market value rents. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions about that? I think Eleanor got in under the wire for the second there. Hearing none, I will call the roll. Reg Foster votes yes.
Eleanor Evans votes yes.
Janice
Penny?
Bennett votes aye. Yes.
And Ed.
Penny, I think, is on mute,
Yeah, and Penny and Ed are on mute there.
and I think Ed stepped out for a moment.
Can you send Penny, Ed, unmute request now? Yeah, but you can send her an unmute request and then that pops right up on our screen here. If you vote aye, do a thumbs up here.
Sorry
Very
about
good.
that. I clicked on the wrong thing. Say it again, Ed.
Ed Scheidler votes aye.
Penny Kirk votes aye.
He's in the other room.
Carries unanimously. I want you to know the audience is no longer in the Linden Chambers Community Room. We've worn them out here. All right, and then our last item, and then it's time to adjourn, is the write-off uncollectible rents. On the federal side, that's $40,738.77. And on the state side, it's $11,183.56. There's a table in the back of the board packet. What's the story here, Steve?
This is folks who have left us, moved out. These are aged. I don't know when the last time was that the Needham Housing Authority did this. I understand that there was some issue with investigation. That's why they kept them for additional years. Actually, the HCD likes to see it done quarterly. And the federal rents, again, these are people that no longer live here. And we don't expect we'll be able to collect. It doesn't mean we can't continue to try to collect. But it means that we get them off our books and clean up our books moving forward.
I don't recollect us having a write-off motion since before COVID. I don't know whether it got lost in the COVID shuffle or, as you say, in the audits, but you know, it used to be quarterly, so I don't know what happened there. So, any questions by the commissioners for Ed? I'm sorry, for Steve. Hearing none, I will make a motion that we write off the uncollectible rents of for our federal public housing, $40,738.77 as detailed in the board packet insert, and for the state public housing uncollectible rents, $11,183.56. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by our treasurer, Mr. Scheidler, very appropriate, I think. And hearing no further discussion, I will call the roll. Reg Foster votes yes.
Eleanor Evans, yes.
Ed Scheidler votes yes.
Penny Kirk votes yes.
And Janet, I can read Janet's lips and she voted yes. Okay, so lip reading. Maybe that's what Representative Garrett can put in, you know, for the new law here. Okay, I think we're at the end of our agenda. And therefore I will.
All right,
Who wants to make the motion to adjourn tonight?
I do.
Dennis. Who wants to
I
second
make a
it?
motion, we adjourn.
Second from Penny. Hearing no further discussion, I will call the roll one last time. Everybody wants to adjourn, say aye at the same time. Aye.
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 Okay. Scofflaw that I am here. Okay, people, great meeting. Thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it. Sorry about the snafu for scheduling at the beginning. Have a great rest of the evening. And remember that our next meeting is, who remembers when our next meeting is? It's a
October
special board
3rd.
meeting. Thank you, sir. Janice, yes. We did do a check-in meeting with Cambridge yesterday, warning a regular bi-weekly meeting, and they're starting to give us sneak previews of new numbers that look, they showed them to Steve this morning, actually, and they're a little bit impressive. So stay tuned. It'll be very interesting. Have a nice evening, everybody. Good night.
Night all.
Great.
But honey, what? I thought you said honey.
I say good night.
Oh.